Hey everyone, we're just waiting for Lisa Fleisher to join us, so bear with us just a minute.
Hello.
Hey Lisa,
Hello.
can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Wow. Great.
You can okay, you can hear us?
Yep, I can hear you.
So we have superstar journalist Lisa Fleischer joining us. I see you walking around your office in London.
Yeah, check it out. Everyone's working.
The glamour of journalism.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find a quiet place.
Okay, so I guess we're really looking forward to having you in Dublin at the Web Summit, joining 20,000 others. It should be
Wait,
pretty
should I be this way or should I be this way? Or not that way?
awesome. That way is perfect.
This
Awesome.
way? Okay.
That's good. Are you good now? Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome. Okay, so we're looking forward to having you in Dublin in 2 weeks' time, or less than 2 weeks' time now. It's going to be awesome, and I know you're doing some panels and moderating some discussions. Well, I guess I wanted to ask you first, what do you get out of tech conferences? What do they mean for you?
I think it's very similar to what a lot of people get them, which is just meeting people, making relationships, making connections, seeing maybe new tech in action, hearing new ideas. Basically, I assume that's what most people go to tech conferences for. It's for the same for me.
And have you been pitched by many people coming to the Web Summit? Yes.
Yes. Yes.
And what have they done wrong and what have they done right?
They've done nothing wrong except for the fact that I haven't had time to really talk to them yet and or address them. I have this folder in my inbox. It says Web Summit, and I'm putting everyone's emails there, and I'm gonna at one point, maybe on a Saturday with a cup of coffee, sit down and respond to everybody.
How big is the inbox? How big is the inbox?
I have pretty good inbox management.
But for all those startups who want to get your attention and they really want to stand out, what do they have to do? I mean, what's going to stand out from the crowd for you?
So it's not standing out from the crowd so much as providing the right information quickly. And I guess, this is just personally for me. I don't know, what's the name of your, obviously, you based, because that's a big deal for us, because the Wall Street Journal has tech reporters all over the world. And if you're in South Korea, with our our tech reporter there. If you're in Berlin, we've got a reporter there. If you're in Turkey, we've got reporters there, and wherever you are, San Francisco, obviously, like a zillion reporters. That doesn't necessarily mean that I don't want to talk to you. It's just that the best person maybe for you to talk to would be the person most familiar with that. So anyways, provide me where you're from, if you have funding, what your funding is, obviously a short summary of what you do or what your product is or what you add. It's just about providing short, succinct information. Does that help?
Do you have particular types of companies that you're interested in, or are you just happy to meet all of the great European companies?
Personally, I focus a little bit more on some fintech stuff, maybe some privacy, Bitcoin a bit. But then again, I'm hopefully going to help you connect with whoever in our organization might be the best person to cover whatever you're doing. And besides the fact that, you never know when something's going to come up. I remember I went to a tech conference on the island of Jersey once and went and just talked to some guy who has an IT consulting business, and I just so happened to quote him in a story later on about work-life balance. It was not a story that either of us could have foreseen, but it just happened to come up in conversation, and I had a really good rapport with him. He gave me all his details, his cell phone number, and stayed in touch, and that was really key for me.
And how do you develop, as a startup, how do you develop a relationship with a journalist? I guess, people might come up to you initially and they might just pitch you directly, and I imagine you, like many journalists, have an aversion to that kind of really forward-thinking, way of or a really forceful way of doing things. How do you kind of nurture that relationship and make it kind of blossom over time?
Well, I love talking directly to either founders or engineers or techies, the people who really understand it. And if you're willing to take some time and talk to me for 10 minutes or something and explain to me maybe some part of your organization or your tech or your market, and tell me your thoughts on it, and tell me your thoughts on your competitors, and tell me where you fit in. That's the kind of way where I develop relationships with people. I start to trust people. I start to get to know them better. I have this one founder who every month or so he'll send me an email and saying, hey, here's what's happening in my industry. I heard a term for this yesterday. It was I guess you can call it thought leadership in a way. Keep good relationships, keep lines open. Personally, I don't like phone calls. Cold calls. I hate phone calls. Because I'm, focused on whatever I'm doing in front of me. I've got a million emails flying in, and the phone call rings. You have to answer it, and it's just, it interrupts everything. And I think that a lot of journalists are like that. I'm not sure, but I think that. Now, what maybe some startups, some founders should do, some people who work for startups should do, is go check out Mike Butcher's personal website. He's with TechCrunch, and he has this really fabulous how to pitch me thing, which tells you all pitch him. I'm thinking maybe I should do something like that. But yeah, I think it's just more about keep in touch, be honest, be open. Yeah, I want to hear from you.
You want that level of honesty that founders can potentially give, and not just hearing those kind of same old, well rehearsed, well thought out lines.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a human being. Obviously, I'm like a regular person. I just want to have a regular conversation with somebody. I don't know everything. I don't understand everything completely. I think we're all learning. One of the great things about tech is that there's a lot of new stuff that keeps coming along. So, just talk to me like a normal human being, basically.
And how do you feel about PR companies? Because some people will maybe be approached by PR companies telling them that they can handle all of this for you, and that everything will be so much easier if you just pay a nice 5-10 grand a month retainer. So how do you feel about these people?
I think that sometimes it can help to have somebody maybe help you figure out how to say what you want to say, I guess. That's occasionally I have a good conversation with a PR company or a person who's representing a company afterwards, and just trying to figure out, like, okay, well, what exactly did this mean? I also sometimes think that they can help maybe figure out level of trust, I guess. But generally, I mean, I don't like to sit around talking to PR people. I sit around talking to founders and tech people and engineers. I mean, those are the people I really want to hear from and really want to talk to. I mean, I can't advise somebody whether or not to use a PR person, but my conversations are always much more valuable when I'm directly talking to the people who are actually building and making the company.
And I mean, some people fear interacting with journalists, fear that they're going to write everything that they say and their deepest, darkest secrets and stuff. What are your thoughts about on and off the record conversations?
Well, it's really simple. All you have to do is just email me directly all of your deepest, darkest secrets, and then we'll go from there. No, I mean, I think that I hate these words on the record, off the record, on background. I mean, it's just, they're made up words that mean different things to different people. And from day one in like journalism school that I went to, we were always told to just look. The most important thing is to have a level of trust with people, and you don't want to like anyone to be surprised the next day or what's on. You don't want anyone to have that confusion where like, I thought we were off the record. No, I thought we were on the record. No, I didn't want that in the newspaper or not. I hope I'm not like disturbing people around me. So basically what I usually try to do is in plain language, just tell people like, okay, you know what? I'm a reporter, so whatever you're telling me when we're first talking, like, I'm a reporter, I have a job to do, so we're talking, it's presumably on the record. Unless for some reason you don't want your name attached to it, or you don't want to tell me something, in which case you have to just be explicit and say, listen, I can't tell you this with my name on it because X, Y, and Z, but maybe it's something you should know. Or is it okay if I tell you this, but I don't want you to print it yet, or something like that. And then I have to affirmatively tell you, like, yes, I agree to that, because that's sort of like our personal agreement. And otherwise, I mean, you can't just go on and on and on in a conversation and then at the end of it say, oh, but all of that's off the record, or, oh, but you can't print any of that until Sunday, because that's just not the way it works. I mean, I don't work for you. I don't work for you guys. I mean, I work for my readers.
And how do you feel about things like embargoes? Obviously, people might meet you at the Web Summit and their launch might be the following week or the following month. Do you want to hear from those people? Do you want a heads up? And, do you stick to embargoes? Do you break them?
Well, I never would break an embargo if I'd agreed to it. But I have to tell you, I mean, I get emails all the time, embargoed. I'm like, why are you sending this to me if it's embargoed? Because, like, I didn't agree to an embargo. If there is some reason why you want to time your launch for something, maybe I might agree to it. But frankly, if you get coverage, it depends on the startup. But I mean, if you get coverage in any outlet, like that should be considered great. And as long as the coverage is good and fair and accurate, you know, I think that's, I don't know, I don't really quite understand embargoes, frankly, but.
So we have a question here just about press releases. Do you think they're absolutely essential, or can things be done without a press release?
No, I would like an email that just says, hey, this is what I'm doing, here's who I am, here's where I'm from, here's my phone number. You know, I don't need anything formal. I just need, you know, the information in a way that I can understand. And like, you know, the worst thing is to have something that's like 600 paragraphs long and then like finally gets to the point. But I mean, the thing is, look, I'm busy. I get things in my inbox all the time. I'll get back to you. You know, it's fine if you don't hear from me in a few days to email me back again. But I try to get back to everybody that emailed me. And you know, as long as you just put like sort of the most important information, like why are you emailing me? Hey, I just want to tell you about my company, or we've got a new product coming out, or you know, we have funding coming up, or something like that. I mean, and remember though, if you email something to someone and say, hey, we've got a $25 million round coming up, but you can't write about it yet, it's like, well, you already told me. So, but feel free to do that. Feel free to send all your secrets to me.
So do they just call you and say, I've got some big news, do you want to know? Like it's like a flirting relationship? Is that how it works?
I don't know. I mean, with people who have news they want to tell me about.
I mean, do you often find startups just kind of flirting you, teasing you with a little bit of information and stuff and trying to trail you along a little bit?
No, not really. I mean, I generally, you know, I'll oftentimes hear from a PR company or something, or they'll say like, we want to introduce you to our client. I'll say, okay, well, tell me X, Y, and Z about them. Okay, thanks. And then oftentimes, like, I might get an idea for a story that client would fit into. You know, the Wall Street Journal usually doesn't do kind of the TechCrunch type thing where you just sort of like really quick hits about like one particular company. But you know, that's us. But like, it might be, you know, like I said, go to TechCrunch and see their kind of how to pitch TechCrunch.
We've got a
question
from Claire Sweeney. She just asked, what's the quickest way to burn your relationship with a journalist? Not on purpose.
That's a good question. Lie. Oh God, don't lie. Don't ever lie. If you lie, that is the worst. That is going to totally burn you. I mean, you know, trust is the most important thing for me. I mean, all I have is my word and my name, and if people trust me that I'm not going to like name them, or if someone, for example, if someone from company A is telling me something about company B, you know, that it's I can't go to company B and say, well, this person from company A told me this, you know, because then that's, you know, I have they trust me not to do that. Similarly, if company A tells me, oh no, that's not true. Like, let's say I come to them and I say, I heard this, can you tell me more about it? And they say, no, that's not true. But turns out it is true. That's just not good. Best way to burn a journalist.
What kind of startups are exciting you these days?
It's hard to answer that because I started in February. So, I mean, I think there's so many great ones out there. That's a bad answer. I know. I'm sorry.
You hate naming them.
No, I just, you know, I feel like a kid in a candy store sometimes when you just sort of like go like, oh, that's interesting. But, sorry.
That's okay. There's another question that's come in about common mistakes maybe that startups make, things that might irk you, apart from phoning you.
So I got that one across.
You got that one across. We won't call you.
I think like just not being honest and not being forthright, possibly because they think I'm going to be dismissive or because they want to kind of keep my attention for as long as possible. I mean, the jig is up at the end. If I have to go back and forth with you over email like 5 times and say, where are you based? Like, that's just a waste of my time, and I'm not going to like be very happy with you in the future. But what was the question again? What are
the common mistakes that startups might make and irk you?
That's basically, I mean, you know, you guys are hard. You guys are working really hard, building your business, building your product. You've got enough to worrying about like common mistakes of journalists. The only thing to do is just don't lie. It's like a big thing.
A lot of startups seem to think these days that the only thing that journalists are interested in is funding rounds. Is that true?
No, but it's an easy way to write about a company because, frankly, there's news in the newspaper. You need to have some news to be in the newspaper or be on the news site. And, if you're just kind of doing your thing and there's nothing necessarily new, then it might be a harder pitch to say, like, this is why I'm writing about it. This is why you should care. But a funding round is sort of like a really easy to get us out about it. Some company, let's say, and say, like, well, this is a company doing this. Oh, and by the way, today or yesterday or it recently closed a deal, and this is how much it's valued at, and et cetera, et cetera. But so that's probably why you would hear a lot about, a funding round, because it's just an easy excuse to write about a company.
Because a lot of CEOs, they don't take huge pleasure, maybe certainly not in their Series A funding round. They think, oh, I've just given away a chunk of my company. Why couldn't I bootstrap for longer? All of those kinds of things. And it's not always a badge of honor for a company, even with a large Series A. And they just want to get out there and talk about their products. So how do they kind of move on from just the finance story and onto their product and, what makes their company so awesome?
Well, you don't have to. So I think there's two different. I think what you're asking is how do we get someone to write about us? Which there's no necessarily secret sauce, but if there's changes or differences or moves or new, like, I don't know. It's sometimes, like I said, sometimes something just hits. But I think that the best answer is just to have a good relationship and continue talking to a person and. Gosh, it's just there's no magic, and sometimes there might be a big funding round, but there's a lot of other stuff happening that day, and you can't even write about that. But it's an interesting thought that, like, a Series A might not necessarily be a sign of success, but it's a sign to some extent that someone else has faith in your business and is deciding to give you money, right? Yes, they're taking a chunk of your company, but they're willing to invest in you. The other sign of success or the sign of seriousness might be users or revenue or something like that. So there's different ways to get people to take you seriously.
Have you ever had any startups like come up to you with like crazy pitches or crazy ideas? Have they ever arrived on your doorstep or like really pursued you in a crazy way?
No, I haven't had like a singing telegram or anything like that. Frankly, I'm not a gimmicks person. I had someone at a tech company once, at a tech conference once, like, not grab me, but like just like get me in the hallway and say, like, listen, I've got this computer right here. I'm going to give you this really quick demo of my product. You have like 2 minutes. And, it worked because they did it so quickly and they respected my time, and they also like were easy enough to talk to. Like I stopped and I stopped in the middle and I said, hang on, like, back up, explain this to me. What about this? What about that? So you think about, what do you think about this? And I could tell that they were really answering my questions with thoughtfully, not just bullshit or spin or something like that.
So
are we allowed to curse on a Hangout?
Does anyone here have any questions for Lisa? Anyone? Surely there must be one or two questions.
Yeah. Hi, Lisa. I suppose when you're approaching a conference and you're a startup or anything.
Who is that? Who is it? Who is it? I can't.
I suppose when you're approaching a conference, Lisa, and you're a startup or anyone looking to get the press, obviously you have to put the homework in beforehand. So what should people be looking at in terms of the different journalists they might look to approach, or what should they look for in terms of when they go onto the website and how to handle everything?
So somebody asked me the other day if people still have beats, if journalists still have beats, and they do. Sometimes they're pretty broad, but we have people covering sectors of tech, like segments of tech. And journalists usually focus on one segment or one area or something that they really like or they're really interested in. So I know this is hard, but you might want to go and just look up the person's name and read a bunch of stories they've done, look at the headlines they've written, or headlines of the stories they've written. So for example, like the Wall Street Journal has a guy named Danny Yadron, and he covers cybersecurity out of San Francisco. So also my editor, Amir Mizrach, also is very interested in cybersecurity. So the two of them are kind of like, if I see anything about cybersecurity, I sort of funnel it to them because they have the context, they have the knowledge, they have the context. And so yeah, I mean, just do some research, do some homework. Maybe if you know your competitors and you know your competitors that have been written about, figure out which reporters have written about them. I mean, I guess like the one mistake that PR people make often is like they'll see I wrote about 3D printing today, and this happened a lot with 3D printing for some reason, and they and then I got all these pitches like that day for 3D printing, and I'm like, I just wrote about it, guys. Like, I'm not going to include you in the story that I just wrote, but you know, in the future, you're sure, like I might keep this in mind.
So before we leave, do you have one tip for startups who are coming to the website?
Yes, tell me all your secrets.
Thanks very much, Lisa.
I mean, look, I think I've said this a few times now, but be succinct, you know, just keep in touch, realize that, you know, your relationships will pay off. Your relationships will pay off at some point. With me, not with anybody else, just with me.
So ignore the guys from the FT and all of your other competitors.
What is that? What was that? Yeah, thanks. And yeah, feel free to, everyone, you guys can email me if you want. If I can be of any help, I would try. Lisa@wsj.com, or I'm on Twitter @Lisa Fleisher. Oh, but I guess the other thing about Twitter is like, you know, respect the medium. Like, I sometimes get pitched on Twitter, but it's weird because I don't really respond on Twitter to pitches so much. But just, you know, that's not what Twitter's for, right? So anyway, that's like a stupid thing to end on. I'm sorry, but I hope to see you guys there, and email me and keep in touch.
We'll see you in Dublin, Lisa. Thanks very much. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.